Hello, this is Mr. Emmerman back here with another little tidbit in the world of political geography. And today we're going to take a look at the purpose of a wall. All these things that are man made, that we create boundaries between others, that maybe there wasn't a boundary there before, but man put one there, whether it's a wall, whether it's a fence, or whatever it may be, we're going to talk about those walls. So, why would somebody want or need that? Why would somebody want to have a wall? So if we go back here a little bit, and think about, okay, why would you need a wall? For the most part, think about your own personal life. Why would you put a fence between yourself and a neighbor? Why would you put a fence between, if you're sharing a room with a sibling? Why would you put a big pillow wall? You probably want some kind of protection from them, or you don't want to be seeing them, or you want to know anything about them. You know, Amplify that a little bit, and you get to see why states may do that. And if we think about the Cold War and the Berlin Wall in Berlin, you're looking at the Soviet Union influencing East Germany to keep very prominent and very talented folks from leaving the communist world, going through Berlin, from East Berlin to West Berlin, and then escaping into West and democratic Germany through West Berlin. And so in the early 1960s, they built a wall, the Berlin Wall, and that kept the East Berlin folks, thus the East German folks, and thus potentially some Soviet folks from escaping into the West through that area. A great movie to watch if you're ever interested in that is Bridge of Spies by Steven Spielberg, starring Tom Hanks. Obviously, to the image to your right, you see people trying to get over a fence, and some of the most famous fences in the wall are very large or very sharp, or they try to keep people out. And a lot of times, people are just looking for economic opportunity. They're trying to flee from war, especially as people are heading out of less empowered places, very dangerous places, and trying to get to places like Europe. That happens. But if you think about building a perfect wall, I can't tell you that here today, but think about in your mind, what would your perfect wall be? Would it have razor wire? Would it be 20 feet tall? Would you have people constantly patrolling it? Those are all the things you have to think about. So in the world today, probably the most famous wall, that's a modern wall, would be the DMZ between North and South Korea. Probably from a historical point of view, probably the Great Wall of China. It's thousands of years old, but its purpose was to keep the Mongols out of then China, and really didn't work. The DMZ has been fairly effective. The Berlin Wall was for the most part effective. And in the United States, in the past few years, we've been talking about building a wall between the United States and Mexico. What is the perfect wall? That's really difficult to talk about. So if there is a wall between the U.S. and Mexico, what should it be? Think about that in your mind. Between the United States here in this image, you see the Tijuana side and the California, San Diego side. Really, what is that going to look like? What's going to be an effective wall? Is it going to be an unscalable wall? Is it going to be a wall that nobody can see? What is that wall going to be like? So that's just something for you to ponder. When we think about, okay, we build a wall, now what's the impact of that wall? There are big time impacts of having a wall. So we're going to briefly look at social, economic, and political effects of a wall. From a social and a political point of view, socially, it makes the people on both sides of the wall very distrustful of one another. It causes you not to be able to interact with one another, and thus isolation. It makes one group of people on the other side of the border look less than the other people. Within the walls, it makes people feel nationalistic, as we've talked about before, extreme pride in a country. Once you try to cross that wall and try to get into the other state, if that wall is effective, it's going to be very dangerous for the people. So people are going to be getting hurt and maybe killed. And in some cases, it's going to separate families. From a political point of view, you are looking at stigmatizing those people from an international point of view. You're spending more money as we get into the next one, but you're using security. So are you potentially escalating ill will already by having this wall and having military go back and forth? Obviously, less interaction with your neighbor, thus your political relationship may go downhill. But obviously, in the 21st century, with Zoom and Skype and Google Meets, that may not be as big an issue. It's just very stigmatize, and I use that word multiple times, but stigmatizing, it's making one side feel less than the other. And in the United States and Mexico's case, a wall and a very difficult entrance into the United States would cause a lot of agricultural industries to struggle because of the need for seasonal migration. From an economic point of view, it's very straightforward. Obviously, you have the cost of the wall or the construction of the wall. But here's a positive: it does create jobs. It would give a lot of people jobs. A positive or negative, depending on your point of view, would be the reduction in illegal goods and the reduction in illegal labor. And if you think about that, if there's less people coming into the country, is there less job opportunities? Is there less cheap labor? Is that going to negatively impact those people who do depend on the cheaper labor and the people who are going to work for less? Obviously, then, contrary to that, it's going to be even more risky to smuggle goods into the country. And then for people who are relying on smuggled goods, for better or for worse, and we're not just talking about the United States here, we're talking about all over the world, those smuggled goods then become more costly. And obviously, you have the reduced seasonal migration and seasonal workers going back and forth. And as a result, a lot of people who depend, a lot of economies, a lot of industries that depend on that migrant labor are going to really struggle. And so, what you have here before you is the social, political, and economic impacts of building walls. We build walls to protect ourselves. We build walls to keep people out. We build walls, in some cases, to keep people in. And so that is a major tool that states have used in political geography in the past. Have a great day.